Happy Friday, everybody. Oops, let me get situated. It's nice to be doing another video with you, and man, do we have a lot of cool stuff to tell you about. Some stuff that's extremely meaningful to me, much more personal than usual. Actually, everything I taste and respond to and tell you about is very personal. It comes from the heart. Whenever I endorse something, it is a wine that we smelled and sipped and wrote about in our notebooks, and then felt some of these products worthy of you, and comes from the heart. This video, however, has some extremely personal material to convey to you, so let's get right to it and tell you what I'm sipping right here. Sniffing and sipping and working on this beautiful red. Look at the color, it's very alive. This sucker is almost 90 years old now. It's a 2013, if I'm doing my math right, maybe 8 years. It is a wine that we had a hand in making. We did this for the store. We were exclusive with it. My daughter's Guy, a wonderful designer of all things, including t-shirts and apparently wine labels, did this label for us. We wanted it to look a little Rhone-ish, south of Francie. And this is our Domaine des Plus de Vie, a Livermore Valley product at that time. We grew some of the fruit ourselves in our backyard, and then we bought a couple of tons of grapes, Mourvedre grapes from Wente, and they all got assembled up in the Napa Valley, ironically, because in order to sell it to you, we had to make it under bond. So a good friend of ours was willing to avail his services and his space to this little wine of ours. Well, it's long gone. The wine certainly isn't. This is super valid. I opened it yesterday. It's still tasting quite good today. And so it's remarkable. I think I love this wine more now, now that it's sold out, which is often the case, right? Isn't that the joy and the tragedy of great wine? It always sells out. You always run out. Why am I telling you about a wine I can't sell you? Here's something we can sell you. This is to help announce that our friend and I, that would be Adam Webb, who also makes this wine, of which we're almost sold out. You know, we've made a big deal about this Gran Reserva Tempranillo. We bought an entire barrel, the only barrel made of it, from Adam Webb, and put a big stack of it right in the middle of the store. That stack of 24 cases is now a dwindling 4 cases of wine at the most. And so this is truly a last call. Come in and get it. But we're putting this wine up next to this to say, same wine dude behind it. I know we have a hand in it. Adam and I will taste this future wine of ours that we're working on. Oop, I let the cat out of the bag. And we'll work on tweaking it. It'll be a joint decision as to what that finally ends up tasting like. But this is in fact to announce that 2 days ago, a bunch of guys and maybe some gals, you can't tell in the dark, wearing nothing but headlamps. Actually, I think they were wearing clothes too. They had the light of the full moon and headlamps, and that was all they had out there in the dark in order to find Grenache. No, not Grenache. Syrah. No, not Syrah. Mourvedre and Carignan grapes up in Oakley. Some of the oldest vines in California, even the whole world, are located in the sandy soils of Oakley. They are growing on their own roots frequently. They can do that because the phylloxera louse that will attack other grapevines will not survive in sandy soil. And so you've got these ancient, gnarly looking vines, very remarkably and ironically situated right next to suburbia in Oakley. And they are kept in the ground by people who still value their effect. They make some wonderful, wonderful stuff. I've come to really appreciate the products out of there based on what Adam has done with with that area, and Bedrock and Klein and Nyers, lots of different players in that area, and we are finally one of them. 1.5 tons of fruit, Carignan and Mourvedre, has been picked for us, has now been crushed, actually destemmed, and is now going to start fermenting any minute now, where Adam is now located up in Sonoma. So he's helping us with this project. We are making 100 cases. This is to announce that it is for sale now as a futures situation. When the wine is released, it's going to sell for about $27. Right now, Wine Club members can obtain it for $18.99, right about there. We ask you to commit to 6 bottle lots, futures lots. So if you buy 6 bottles as futures, you don't get any wine yet. So you're gonna have to buy some other wine from us too that you drink now. Aren't we clever? But you buy those 6 bottles now until we've sold 25 of those 100 cases, and then we close the futures program. We will sell no more than 1/4 of this 100 case lot as futures. I'll tell you why we're doing this. We're a little clever this way. Actually, we need to do it. The grower and the winery need to be paid now. So with a little bit of financial pressure there, we figured, why don't we sell some of the wine now so we can help take care of those bills? It's only fair that the grower gets his grapes paid for, that the winery where this wine will reside for the next year and a half also gets theirs. So help us, help yourself. You will get some very good wine at a price that will be unheard of once it is released. It'll be good. If you ever liked the Plus de Vie, I can promise you the best version ever is to come. I just have very high hopes for that. Carignan and Mourvedre, and then at the very last pre-bottling time, Adam and I will probably tweak it a little bit. We'll go and taste his barrels of Grenache and Syrah and say, hey, you want to put in 3% of this, 3% of that? But to keep it a true Oakley Contra Costa County product based on Mourvedre and Carignan, those will be the dominating features. So get in on the futures. We're putting it on our website today. It's a 6-bottle lot. I think it is selling for like $127. But if you're a wine club member, it comes down to right around $114. And that is therefore $18.99 a bottle rather than $27. Get in, help us, help yourself, and anticipate a very nice wine coming your way in about a year and a half. And we'll try to keep all of you who have supported this cause with the futures buying in the loop. You know, we'll blog once in a while. We'll let you know how that wine is going. All right. So consider this the first blog. It was picked 2 nights ago by Headlamped Workers and is now residing in Sonoma. And we'll start frothing any minute now, turning from grape juice into wine. So the next Plus de Vie is in the works. Isn't that cool? Now you're probably wondering what's with the rock. It's just to remind me of the next subject, to tell you that we have another event coming up. What is that event? On September 27th, that's a Tuesday evening, we are going to do an event that I can only call Only the RHONELY. Only the RHONELY, of course, implies that we're going to be tasting Rhone wines. Rhone wines from the south of France, mostly from the southern Rhone, Grenache, Syrah, Mourvedre blends, including this newly arrived vintage of Peygaud. Yeah, Peygaud is here. We haven't seen this in a while, and I cannot wait to taste the new vintage. It got 90-something million points from somebody, but I have always loved this wine. It's one of my earliest impressions of this wine type, and Peygaud has always been important to me ever since. I cannot wait to try this with you at the Only RHONELY event. Daniel Madero of Kermit Lynch, our Kermit Lynch rep of 20 years, visited us the other day, and what did he bring? The new vintage of perhaps my favorite Vacqueyras. This is Sang de Caillou. That means the blood of the rock. As if a rock can be bled, but the idea is that the rocks which are strewn about not only the vineyards of Châteauneuf-du-Pape but nearby Vacqueyras do help ripen and affect the flavors and style of the wines there. And so Sang de Caillou, the blood of the rock, Vacqueyras, will be tasted at our Only the RHONELY event. What else are we going to do? Oh my gosh, there are too many ideas, but this is cool. We are one of only 2 stores in the Bay Area that are carrying this in Magnum. We wanted to carry all 10 3-packs, in other words, 30 of them. They would only sell us half. They wanted to spread the love a little bit. So this very familiar Gigondas label will be tasted at the event, and we will make available to the attendees, only to the attendees first, and then the rest of you, if there's any leftover, can get in on the magnums of this Chateau de Montmirail Gigondas. Chateau de Montmirail is a favorite Rhone red of ours, and in magnum form, you can make more people happy by uncorking the big sucker. So that's going to be poured. Well, Only the RHONELY is obviously defining Rhone wines, but we want to do something different this time. Half of the wines will come from the Rhone Valley of France. The other half are going to be Rhone-inspired wines from all over the place. Here's a bottle I would love to get in front of you. I want to sometimes break down these GSMs into their individual components. Then here's a GSM-less wine. There's no GS or M in this. This is Carignan. Carignan is another Rhone grape that has become very interesting, so interesting that we're going to be working a lot with it. That wine that I described that we're selling as futures is going to be about 2/3 Carignan. In this area called Sardinia, Italy, they call it Carignana. And I love this wine, especially the 2016 vintage of Barua. We have just spoken for the final amount remaining in the Bay Area. The last six packs are heading our way so that we can feature this at the event. Carignan, pretty cool, right? What else are we going to do that's Rhonish, but not completely Rhone? You know, it's not geographically from the Rhone. We might go to Washington. This is cool stuff. I was just up there in Walla Walla and got to know a winery called The Walls Winery, and this is called Concrete Mama Syrah. Concrete means it, the implication is that it fermented in concrete before it went to oak barrels, and that it's also grown in an area that looks a lot like Shout Out to Pop, a part of Walla Walla called the Rocks District. And you don't see any dirt there. You just see all these rocks from which the vines are emerging. It's crazy looking terroir. So maybe we'll taste this. I think we will. I'm still deciding. There are a couple of samples being presented to me which are inspiring the menu to keep changing. For instance, I really do want to go to Oakley. I want to show you what Oakley tastes like in the form of Mourvedre and maybe Carignan. And so here is Nayers Mourvedre and Nayers. Oh, this is the Nayers Mourvedre. This is the Nayers Carignan. I'm still trying them. I'm trying to decide which one I want to show. Bruce Nayers, who used to be the national sales manager for Kermit Lynch, now makes fantastic wines up at his place in Napa. Yeah, he makes Napa Cab, but he also makes remarkable Chardonnay from, I believe, Carneros. And then he very thoughtfully remembers his Kermit Lynch south of France selling roots by working with those old vines, in this case from the Evangelo vineyard in Oakley. And I'm still trying to decide which to show, and if I'm very weak, I'm going to show them both because they're both very, very good. The Mourvedre, let me try some wine. Opened yesterday, and you know what you can do with Mourvedre? You can neglect it, you can punish it. Leave the cork out, let it sit as a half-empty bottle all night long, and I bet you that Mourvedre will be even better the next day. Mourvedre has that property. We're going to be telling you about all of these features of the various Rhone grapes as they are assembled together and as they're broken down. So we are going to celebrate nothing but Rhone and Rhonish wines that night. Only the RHONELY, I believe it's $46 per person, and based on what we're opening, that is well worth it. Order a cheese and meat platter to go along. You're going to see this on the winesteward.com right now. I've already loaded it up there. It's already selling, and we hope you can get in. It's for the first 24 to sign up. If this thing sells fast, I may come back Wednesday night and repeat the event, as we've been known to do lately. We like to have no more than 24 people upstairs these days, and it's a nice setting, I think, anyway, with that count. So let's see you guys at the RHONELY event. Right on. Topic number 3, and the final topic, is to let you know what we are currently pouring at our wine bar. Are you attendees of our mezzanine wine bar, or people who sit out front? If the day's not too smoky, today is. You get to enjoy a totally different menu every week, and we describe those wines very briefly on our video every week. So let's do that. You guys, you frequent offenders know that we always start with a sparkling beverage. I'm saying beverage this time and not wine, because this time we're throwing a little bit of a curveball. Maybe you know that Eric Edgar, our wine bar guru, is very, very fond of cider, and he's always telling you about it these days. He can't drink red wine anymore, so he's into white wine and cider. We are basically, officially, it was unofficial, let's just call him officially the Wine Steward cider buyer. Well, he just landed this, which is the most beautiful cider I've ever had. It's probably one of the more expensive ones we've ever carried, but look at this bottle. Easily mistaken for champagne. He's even locating it on the shelf of champagnes. It's sitting right there. It's in the cooler right beside the champagnes. And now it's sitting up in the wine bar as well, prepared. And you should be prepared to try a beautiful cider. This looks so much like champagne because, in fact, this guy who lives in Lafayette, hence the name Mount Diablo. Lafayette's where I grew up, incidentally, so it's kind of cool to me. He has made this like champagne. Most ciders are not done this way, but it is truly méthode champenoise, with a second fermentation happening in bottle and riddled. And finally, after I think 14 or 16 months, it is disgorged, just like champagne. And I can't wait to try some right now. I've already had this stuff, but one of the joys of these videos is having you watching me taste sparkling wine. We are in fact going to treat this just as if it's champagne by even putting it in these fantastic glasses so that you can smell this exotic stuff. Beautiful, beautiful. It's made by a particular kind of pippin apple called the Cox Orange Pippin. These are grown down in Watsonville, and this dude from Lafayette located them and is doing something amazing here. I invite you to get out of your box, and if you like sparkling wine, you may want to try a cider that is made just like champagne. It's brut nature, meaning no dosage. It's very, very dry, bracing. It's not sweet cider. It's complex. I invite you to get into this. It's cool stuff. So that's an exciting thing we're doing this weekend on the Wine Bar. If you have any hesitation about that, no one should have any hesitation whatsoever about this. This is a white wine from Bordeaux. It never saw a barrel. It is made primarily of Sauvignon Blanc, but it has Semillon in it as well. I got to meet these folks many, many years ago when I went with importer Charles Neal to visit them in Bordeaux, Chateau L'Estrie, and we visited on a Sunday. It was very kind of them to have us there that day because typically the family is just finally enjoying a day off and having a big lunch on their own. Well, after we were shown the winery and tasted some wines in their winery, we were brought over to their house, and they in fact shared their Sunday lunch dinner with us. And what they do on Sundays in Bordeaux, at least in this household, is put out an enormous plate of all things shellfish, including local oysters. And the oysters in this wine were particularly lovely. Juicy, clean, lively, fresh. Drink it nice and cold on a hot day like we're having today, like we're having all weekend. It'll beat the heat. L'Estrie, totally fresh, delicious, totally understandable. No one will argue with this wine. Nobody. Well, you all know as well that we do a different rosé every week. Sometimes it's an inexpensive one from Spain, and other times we are going to the high rent district, as we are this time. We are in fact going to Bandol. Bandol, which is on the Provençal coast. Mediterranean Sea is viewable by the vines that are growing this wine. This is going to be made of Mourvedre, as most of the wines of the area are, but there are good friends helping out. I think it's Grenache and Cinsault in this case. Beautiful. This is rosé with a little more body to it, almost as big as Tavel. Big, yet with a lot of nerve. Very fresh, lively, tangy. It's got some size, yes, but it maintains its energy. I get something like tangerines and some spice. It's the right stuff. Have some Bandol this weekend, why don't you? And now for our red flight. We always do, at least lately, 5 reds in a row and have a certain theme going on. We did this a few weeks ago. You guys loved it. You guys loved learning about the qualities, the attributes of this particular glass shape. Can you see that? We call this the New World Pinot Noir glass. As you can see, it looks like the traditional Pinot glass, but it's flared, it's taller. It's got kind of a tulip thing going on. I have found it to be very good at showing off all kinds of red wines. So we're proving that point once again by doing a flight where this is the only glass you need. But we are going to be showing you many different kinds of wines, right? So this is a Grenache and Syrah from the Southern Rhone. I've obviously got Rhone on the brain, so I really wanted to bring up this wine from RHONELY, Le Secret de la Licorne. Licorne must be a unicorn, because there's a unicorn on there. The French, did you know? Steve Martin said it very well. We have a different name for everything. Anyway, Licorne, unicorn, maybe? Oof, that's nice. Wow, pretty. Look at that dark color. I don't think this ever even saw a barrel. It's just Grenache and Syrah, and it is happy stuff. And this bowl shows it off well. Wow. That is fat, fruit-filled wine. On an English muffin this morning, I had raspberry jam. It was great. And there's some of that going on. Yes, the wine is dry, but there's an insinuation, implication, connotation, whatever you want, of fruit, framboise, and just a little bit of that raspberry thing going on. Whew. Beautiful. Kirsch, maybe too. That's wine number 1 on the flight. You're gonna love it. And then we're gonna pour something that will look quite different, rather opposite to this color. So let's say goodbye, a fond farewell to wine number 1, and pour Padron. Tom Kelly of Small Imports, that's the name of an importer of Italian wines. As many of you know, and many of you enjoyed, on Monday and Tuesday we showed the wines of Tom Kelly. We did Italian wine nights upstairs for the people who RSVP'd. Thank you for coming, thank you for your orders. We showed this wine. I wanted to give it a bigger audience because it deserves it. This is Nebbiolo, Langhe Nebbiolo from Piedmont, Italy. It's Nebbiolo you can afford. If you buy up to this person's Barbaresco, you're spending quite a bit more, and it's glorious wine, but we're just keeping it real this time around. Nebbiolo is always quite fragrant. It's usually rather color deprived compared to what we were just showing you in other wines, but the nose makes up for it. It's a little cold right now, but if I warm it up, I know I will get fruit, strawberry fruit, and potpourri as well. That's what we hope for from nice Nebbiolo. It'll be smooth. And then tannic. If you ever taste a Nebbiolo that's not tannic, you should question whether or not it's Nebbiolo. There should be tannins, and there should be, therefore, protein on a plate right next to this bottle. So order a cheese platter to go along. Anyway, I'll get that top out later. Wine number 3 is going to be, oh, look at that. Wouldn't you think we would show a New World Pinot in a New World Pinot Noir glass? We better fulfill that idea with Walt. Walt, that's a really stained label. Let's show it off better. Come on, that's pretty. All right. Okay, Walt from the Anderson Valley of California. Whew. Always a lot of fruit. This wine is definitely made. It is grown and harvested a little riper, I believe, in order to make a lot of you cocktail Pinot Noir drinkers happy. It's always rather generous in texture and in its amount of fruit, and this glass especially shows it off. Between $30 and $40, the Walt Pinot Noir is our best-selling Pinot Noir year after year. So many of you love it. You'll love it again. There's another grape that does very, very well in this New World Pinot Noir so-called glass. And I named that grape Syrah. Syrah is a grape with which many of you have a difficult relationship. You're just a little uncertain about it. And the only reason why I think you are is because it does a different thing based on where it's grown. If you grow it in Paso Robles or in Barossa Valley, Australia, where it's warm, it's going to make a big jammy wine. If you grow it in a cool place, it'll make a fantastic wine there too, but it'll be a totally different wine. Here, we're going to a place from which I've never had Syrah before. We showed this at the Italy event. Yes, it's Italian Syrah. Not only that, it's from Sicily. I've never had a Sicilian Syrah until this one showed up and landed in my glass. And I can tell you, it was the maverick surprise wine of the night, and a lot of you went for it. Many of you were pleasantly surprised, especially those of you who are heeled in on the subject of Northern Rhone Syrah. This does bear a resemblance to the Northern Rhone. Wow, that white pepper thing and black olive is happening big time. Black, you know, the cured olives, the brine cured ones that are kind of shrivelly. Yep. That and that pepper, beautiful stuff. And some violets. This bottle opened yesterday is singing now. And I think the reason why is this particular Syrah never saw the semi-porous environment of an oak barrel. Rather, it was kept in tank during its whole winery life. And so it never really got to breathe. I hope this guy will make a barreled wine sometime, a barrel version of Syrah, because not just because I want wood flavors necessarily, I just want this wine to breathe. And I think this is going to be a great age, and I don't think, I know it will be. It'll age very well because it's been so hermetically sealed for the early part of its life. is used to being all locked up, and it'll bloom just the way it is blooming by being opened overnight. It'll bloom by staying in your cellar for several years. So we're going to try to make a big buy of this wine. I'm going to try to be one of the only retailers around with it. We've heard how much is left, like 26 cases out there. I think I'm going to own them. Don't tell Kathy. This is beautiful Syrah, but we want to show you another side of Syrah as the final wine called De Tierra, grown a little closer to home in good old Monterey County. De Tierra is heading my way toward my New World Pinot Noir glass. Again, a flight that this glass wonderfully accommodates. Aha! This is a little wilder. It's a little more cowboy. I think of Gunsmoke. I think of Bonanza. Little slaughterhouse on the prairie. Ooh, this is exciting stuff. Some of you may be afraid, but those of you who eat lamb, you will say, where is that lamb? I want lamb. You'll go chase one down and head back here for a glass of this. De Tierra, Monterey Syrah, acts a little like the New World, even though it's grown in the, or acts a little like the old, even though it's grown in the new. Exciting wine, does so nicely in that glass. Just as a quick review, let's go back to start and go on for 20 more minutes. No, I promise I will not. I just want to remind you, however, that we are selling the futures as of right now of our next Plus de Vie wine 2021. We did a 13, we did a 14, we did a 16, and it's been too long. People have been asking, are you guys going to ever make that wine again, that Plus de Vie? And it's happening. You can get in on it and help us pay the grower for his grapes. I would show you the bottle one more time, but I can't find it. There's too many bottles on the thing here. But we will say also the RHONELY event, show you wines from Châteauneuf du Pape and the Southern Rhone in general, and then the world according to Rhone. So sign up for the RHONELY event. Tickets are on sale now for the first 24 of you to RSVP. Thank you very much. Have a great weekend. And avoid that smoke. Come on inside up to the wine bar mezzanine and let's have a glass together. See you soon.